So we're here at the Alberta Beef Industry Conference, and I'm with Ed Pajor, and you spoke today about the Beef Code of Practice. So we have the Code of Practice written up. What are the next steps for the industry?
Well, I think what really has to happen is there has to be a fair bit of outreach to producers to emphasize what the beef code actually is, that there are requirements and that there are recommendations within the code and how they differ. I also think that the producers need to look at the code, and rather than just thinking about it as a set of something else to do, realize that it really reflects what they do already for the most part, that there's a lot of good things in the code that will allow them to focus on how to improve maybe some of the management that they're doing on their operations. And I think there's also this element of this is something extra rather than something that might be a useful management tool, which actually may have an impact on the bottom line. We know animal welfare and economics can be closely related. Poor animal welfare is going to have a negative impact on economics, etc. So something like the code allows you to see kind of where you are, what you're doing, and how you might be able to tweak your operations to do things better that can be better for the animal and better for your bottom line as well.
So there's recommendations and requirements. How are the requirements going to be enforced?
Well, there really isn't a mechanism in place to enforce requirements. And so at this point what it is the industry kind of regulating itself. And the way it all depends what comes down the line through this whole process. Recommendations, what might be coming down the line in terms of different commodity organizations anyway, is on-farm assessments. So for example, the dairy industry has had codes for a number of years now and has these new revised codes for a couple of years now. And what's really important about having codes and having things like requirements and recommendations is that there's a way of demonstrating to interested parties that you're actually following what the codes say that you're actually doing. The dairy industry has done some pilot studies on acceptance of the codes and if producers are following the codes and those types of things. And I think they're coming up with the mechanisms to try to figure out how to encourage it within their own industry. Again, they're a little bit further along the process. I think with the beef industry, the first step is going to be codes themselves and understanding that codes are good management practices. And then it becomes a question of how to do assessments around those on individual operations. And so how do you, the next step is to be able to demonstrate that you're following the codes to some sort of assessment. I think that if there's demand from retailers, demand from packers to demonstrate that, that'll cause some on-farm assessments to occur. But in terms of somehow having some sort of punitive approach to codes, I don't really see that happening in the near future.
There's said to be quite a gap between producers and consumers. Will implementing this code and showing that it's not just a piece of paper but it's actually happening, will it address those concerns, or is there more we have to do?
Well, there are the two stages. So the codes are the standards, which is how the industry themselves feel that people should be actually raising animals. Being able to take that code and show it to consumer groups or other types of groups who might be interested is really important, because here's the standard. This is what we're going to do. And we all agree that this is what we're going to be trying to do. There's going to be some variation, but this is really where our goals are and our expectations are for the industry. But then again, that's only a piece of paper. And so doing the on-farm assessments is also really important to say, not just do we have a program that has standards and codes, but look, we can actually demonstrate that for the most part, the majority of producers in our industry actually follow the codes, and here's the data that would demonstrate that. That's really what's important and required in order to convince a public which is really separated from agriculture a great deal and is always wondering about what's really going on. So the trick with the assessments is whether or not assessments done by the industry itself will be sufficient, or whether there needs to be third-party assessments done, those types of things. But that's something that's down the road in terms of developing these programs.